Gamers, welcome to the weekly update. I'm going to get better at keeping these to the point, so let's dive straight in. I'm actually going to jump to ES first. Last week, I drew out this line, and this is my expectations for the rest of February going into March, possibly going into April. It's just one idea. I'm absolutely prepared to abandon this, but it's built around the daily cycles. The daily cycles are 40 days, and you see here, this yellow line. Let me make it bright pink. We can see it really clearly. I drew this last week, haven't touched it since. So I drew it, expected a little dip into a pump into the week, and I expect that to continue up, and I want us to kind of go up and touch new highs. And ultimately, from the highs, this trend line for the highs, you see how they all link up here? Well, I want to see an overthrow, or throw over, however you say it, and then the dump begins. And I want that to happen after the end of March, sometime in April. That kind of lines up with what you're seeing on the chart here, time-wise as well as price-wise. I want it to reach at least 72, possibly at the very max end, which I'm not really holding out for, but 7,500. 72 is kind of my target. I'm absolutely prepared to abandon that. If price just starts turning down and not coming back, well, then it's over. This is going to be a year-long bear market at least, probably closer to 18 months, end of 27, possibly start of 2028 before it really starts to rebound. But though that is a bear market bottom that you want to buy. The next cycle, big cycle, the 4-year cycle, is probably going to be phenomenal. So you want to be in it. So in about a year and a half time, have your cash ready to buy. But for now, we're not there. So this is my expectations. I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to change anything because I don't think I need to. I think everything is panned out exactly. I'm kind of surprised at how to the point. This is just an arbitrary squiggle I made, and it's surprisingly on point. I'm going to put that back to yellow because that's what I tend to do. And I'm not going to change anything. So let's go back to NQ. NQ, because it's full of the AI stocks and the AI bubble is what is about to burst. It's starting to struggle already. My expectations are on the daily here. My expectations go to 1 hour. Here we go. I wanted us to hold this level, which we did. And I want us to go up and retest these levels up here, which is the weekly point of control. That seems to be what we're doing. That seems to be the direction we're going in. This red trend line coming down here is the daily cycle high trend line. We've broken above it pretty decisively on Friday, and we've retested it. And now we're looking to resume back to the upside. I don't even think we need to come back again. We probably will. We might. I don't know. We'll have to see. But if it just wants to go up from here and have a bullish week, then that wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be afraid to just jump in. But I absolutely expect us to come up to this level. I do expect some resistance here just because we spent 4 days up there and then had a big sell-off. So the weekly point of control is my target. I think we're going up to the upside. And then basically I'm going to be watching ES to see what happens at this upward trend line. And I'm going to kind of explain what I'm expecting here. So this green area here is the next daily cycle low window. And this yellow line here is the halfway point, the mid cycle low. So what it does is you have your main cycle is about 40 days and you have half cycle low in between. That's what this yellow line is. That's what I think the dip on Tuesday was. I think it was the half cycle low. The next cycle low is here, the main cycle. This part is going to be here. And that's around the 12th, the 11th of March to the 23rd of March. It's approximately 10 days. In fact, you can see the details of it here. So next daily cycle low is 11th of March to the 23rd of March. And there is tolerance around it, but somewhere in this region is where I expect to dip. So now that we've done this, there's our half cycle low, and now I'm expecting that, basically. That's the simple idea. If I go back to NQ, our half cycle low looks to be in on Tuesday. Here was our failed cycle on NQ, because NQ is struggling, weaker. If we were doing just NQ in isolation, we would expect this to come in lower. But ES isn't there yet. I still stand by my point that there's too many bears. Too many bears celebrating way too early. I'm pretty sure they need to be humbled. They need to be taken out. I think there's going to be one final big macro flow over to the top. The UTAD, for those who follow Wyckoff, which, I'll do a really terrible drawing of it here. We chop around at the top like we've been doing. We have a big throw over to the top. Everyone buys in, and then we start collapsing. You know, the liquidity sweep, but we're talking on a macro level. I don't think we've seen it yet, and that's what I want to see. So I'm perfectly happy to abandon this plan, as I've said a number of times at this point, because we're so close to the end. Don't marry yourself to these ideas. It's just my expectations, what I'm anticipating, and what I'm kind of planning around. It's what I'm seeing. You know, we've had our breakout of this, you know, lots of touches all the way down, and then we finally broke out, and we've retested, and now it looks like we're going to continue up higher. So with that in mind, nothing's really changed for this week. The levels that I had on here for a couple of weeks now, they're all holding. They're all still in play. And I did consider, if I go to the 4 hour, I did consider putting one here in the middle. But there's so much chop, and there's so many liquidity points here, here, and here. And we've got such wide 4 hour gaps here. We've got this massive inversion gap there to here as well, or for value gaps there to the downside with all these liquidity points. I honestly don't know where to put it. If I'm, you know, just being completely real with you, there's so many levels in this whole region, in this whole area that has been used. Plus our liquidity levels here with the monthly open, previous week's open, previous week's high, which is still going to be relevant coming up. And we got the main target I'm looking at is the weekly point of control here, this yellow line. This whole area below this trend line, I think what we'll do something, I don't know, like this, blah, 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 come back, maybe not like that, pretty terrible. Let me try that again. Come up here, maybe dip back down to retest these levels here, and then continue up to the trend line, kind of retest these levels up here, our underside for the 4 hour gap at the top there. Here, number 5. And I don't know, maybe that's when maybe it'll come out over here or something. And that's when we'll do our dip into our cycle low. And then we do our big ripper. Maybe it reaches highs on ES but doesn't on NQ. And NQ just maintains the bearish stance and we just chop inside this big range that's just been building up over here. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's all pretty interesting though. It's all kind of going in the directions that I expect. Long and short of it is this. Long until proven otherwise. Whether we're going to reject from here or we're going to reject from here. How we act in the daily cycle low. Possibly it will come down to here. Possibly it will come down to this region, which is here. We'll see what happens. So expect a dip around, you know, the week and a half coming up to March OPEX. Q1 OPEX too, so it's a significant one. Expect market maker games to be played. They always do. So the dip here, will it be the beginning of the end, or will we have a final little pump, take out some liquidity, and then start dropping off? But I absolutely expect us to start dropping off in March, April time. And that's all I got for you for this one. I'm going to try and keep it under 10 minutes. We're at 8.5 minutes now. So that's my expectations. That's my thoughts. What happens here will be interesting. What happens here if we reach it will be interesting. And what happens here during the cycle low window will also be interesting. But up for now, down a little bit in the middle of March. And then we'll look at the structure and decide what we think is going to happen from there. Until then, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you this again. Because you know what? I'm going to keep this here. I'm not going to touch it. Let's see. Been here for a week already. Let's see how close I end up getting. If we slice straight through this downward sloping trend line on ES, that'd be interesting. Do we ride the upward trend line? I think here it's not a coincidence to me that our high trend line and our weekly daily cycle upward trend line, in the same way that we've had a throw over to the downside here, or throw under, I guess you could say. I'm expecting the same thing to happen here, and then a throw over to the top, and then that's it. That's all she wrote, and then we're off to the downside. And it will be pretty big, I reckon. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Expect volatility in games. There's stuff that's going to come out that you're not expecting. Maybe it's new tariff stuff, the Iran war stuff. Who knows? All of it's narrative. None of it's really the reason. It's all used as excuses, though. Just follow the chart. The chart will tell you, and the cycles will tell you too. That's it. Okay,